There's a quiet kind of pain that doesn't scream. It lingers. It sits in your chest when you wake up and follows you through the day like a shadow. And most of the time, that pain comes from holding on too tightly. We hold on to people who've already walked away. We hold on to old versions of ourselves that no longer serve us. We hold on to expectations that life has clearly let go of, and in doing so become the ones dragging ourselves through the mud. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's realizing that not everything broken can be fixed. It's understanding that peace costs something, and sometimes it costs the very thing you're afraid to lose. Growth begins the moment you loosen your grip, the moment you stop forcing, chasing, controlling, the moment you say, "This is no longer for me." You don't have to hold on just because you once cared. You don't have to stay just because you once started. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for your future is to walk away from your past. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about making room for something better, for healing, for clarity, for freedom. So if it hurts to hold on, maybe it's time to stop. Maybe it's time to breathe and let go. And there's a strange kind of pain that doesn't come from what's done to us, but from what we keep doing to ourselves. And most of the time, it's the pain of refusing to let go. We carry old wounds like they define us. We hold on to people who've outgrown us, to versions of ourselves we no longer recognize, to dreams that once fit but now feel like cages. And we tell ourselves stories. If I try a little harder, it'll get better. If I just hold on a little longer, it'll change. If I let go now, what will I have left? But here's what we don't realize. Holding on is what's keeping us stuck. It's what's stealing our peace, our clarity, our ability to move forward. Sometimes, what hurts the most isn't the loss. It's the resistance to the loss. It's the fear of facing the empty space that letting go will leave behind. But that space is where healing begins. That silence is where you hear your own voice again. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means honoring what was without letting it hold you hostage. It means saying, "I still care, but I care about myself more now. I can miss what we had and still know it's time to move on. I'm allowed to leave what hurts, even if I once loved it." Because the truth is simple. The things that are meant for you won't require you to break just to keep them. We spend so much of our lives trying to fix what's falling apart, as if saving something is always better than starting over. We fight for relationships long after the connection has faded. We stay in places that drain us, just because we've been there too long to imagine leaving. We hold on, not because it's right, but because letting go feels like giving up. But here's a truth that takes time to understand. Not everything broken is meant to be repaired. And not everything that ends is a failure. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes, the most honest thing you can say is, "This no longer serves me." It doesn't make you cold. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. It makes you someone who has finally decided to stop bleeding for things that don't want to heal. There is strength in endings. There is courage in closure. And there is wisdom in knowing when to stop pouring into what no longer pours back. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to outgrow dreams. You are allowed to say, I deserve more than this. Letting go doesn't erase what once was. It simply says, I'm ready for what comes next. Because your life is not meant to be a museum of everything you tried to fix. It's meant to be a journey toward everything you're still becoming. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work or lack of sleep. It comes from holding on too tightly for too long. You try to stay strong. You tell yourself, just one more effort. You carry the weight of someone else's silence. You replay conversations in your head, search for closure in people who never gave it, and keep reaching for things that keep slipping away. It feels like strength, but slowly it becomes survival, and then slowly it becomes suffering. We think letting go will break us, but the truth is, we're already breaking by holding on. We just don't see it until we feel ourselves becoming someone we no longer recognize. You start smiling less, sleeping less, trusting less. You stop dreaming, stop hoping, stop believing that something lighter, freer, better is even possible. Because when you grip something that's cutting you, eventually, you start to believe you deserve the pain. But hear this. You don't have to bleed to prove it mattered. You don't have to break to prove you tried. You're allowed to walk away from what's too heavy. You're allowed to choose peace over pride. You're allowed to say, this isn't strength anymore. This is self-destruction. Because real strength isn't in how tightly you hold on. It's in how bravely you let go when you know it's time. We talk a lot about healing, but healing isn't just about time passing. It's about where you spend that time and what you allow yourself to stay connected to. You can't heal in an environment that keeps reopening the wound. You can't find peace around people who keep disturbing your spirit. You can't become whole while constantly proving your worth to someone who only sees your flaws. Sometimes, the most important part of healing is leaving the patterns, leaving the apologies that never change behavior, leaving the places where you've had to dim your light just to feel accepted. But leaving doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes, it's quiet. It's you choosing not to respond, not to explain yourself again, not to beg for something that should have been freely given. You deserve to be in spaces that don't require you to shrink. You deserve relationships that don't exhaust your soul. And you deserve to move forward without guilt for choosing yourself. Healing is not selfish, it's sacred. It's the slow return to your true self after seasons of being pulled away from who you are. So if you keep wondering why it still hurts, why you feel stuck despite trying so hard, maybe it's not about doing more. Maybe it's about finally stepping away. Because you can't rebuild your peace on ground that keeps shaking beneath you. There comes a point when you have to stop looking back, not because the past didn't matter, but because it's not where your life is anymore. We replay the same moments over and over, wondering what we could have said differently, what we should have seen sooner, what we wish we could still change. But the truth is, you can't rewrite a chapter that's already been written. You can only decide when to stop reading it. Because every time you open that same page, you pause your own story. You delay your healing. You rob your future of the space it needs to unfold. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the past. It means putting it back where it belongs, behind you. It means saying, yes, that happened, and yes, it shaped me, but no, it doesn't define where I'm going. You are not the person who was left. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the story someone else tried to write for you. You are the one holding the pen now, and the longer you stay stuck in yesterday, the more you blur the beauty of what today could be. So close the chapter not out of bitterness, but out of love for who you're becoming. Because no matter how compelling that old story was, your next one deserves your full attention. There's a kind of peace that doesn't come from fixing things, but from releasing them. A quiet freedom that arrives the moment you say, I'm done carrying what no longer belongs to me. We spend so much of our lives gripping tightly to relationships, to roles we were never meant to play, to expectations we never chose, but still tried to meet. And in that effort, we lose the softness in our spirit. We lose the laughter in our voice. We lose the lightness in our steps. But letting go does something different. It doesn't erase the past, but it liberates you from it. It gives you room to breathe again, without guilt, without the constant weight of what if, without having to explain yourself to people who never tried to understand you in the first place. Freedom doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it's the quiet of a morning where your chest feels lighter, the calm after a long season of internal storms. The moment you realize you're not waiting anymore. Not waiting to be chosen, not waiting for closure, not waiting for someone else to see your worth. You've already chosen yourself. You've already made peace, and that is when the healing truly begins. Because when you finally let go, you don't lose, I return to clarity, to peace, to the version of you that was buried under all that weight. There's a story we've been told since we were young, that strong people never give up, that strength is found in holding on, no matter what, but real life teaches something different. Sometimes it takes more strength to walk away than to stay and keep pretending. It takes courage to admit, this is hurting me. This version of me is no longer working. This chapter is over. And that kind of honesty, the quiet, soul-level truth you whisper to yourself when no one's watching, isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because strength isn't how much pain you can carry, it's knowing when the pain no longer serves your growth. You're not meant to spend your whole life proving your endurance. You're meant to evolve, to expand, to release what was, so you can rise into what's next. Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new one written by a version of you who now knows better, who knows that peace is more valuable than being right, that growth is more important than comfort, that real love shouldn't cost you your self-respect. So if you're in a place where everything feels heavy, maybe it's not because you're weak. Maybe it's because you've been strong for too long, in the wrong direction. And maybe now, strength looks like release, like closing the door, like turning the page, like choosing yourself fully, unapologetically. Letting go isn't just about endings, it's about becoming. Every time you release something that no longer serves you, you take a step closer to the person you were always meant to be. It's not easy. Growth never is. It asks you to leave behind the familiar, to grieve what could have been, to sit with silence before something new begins. But with every goodbye that honors your truth, you reclaim your voice. You learn to trust your instincts. You learn to protect your peace. You learn that not everyone deserves access to your heart, and not every door deserves to stay open. Letting go is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. You'll have to do it again and again, with people, habits, thoughts, versions of yourself. And every time you do it with grace, with compassion, with courage, you grow. Not into someone new, but into someone more you than ever before. Someone lighter, someone stronger, someone no longer defined by what they couldn't fix, but by what they chose to release. So if today you're standing at that edge, unsure whether it's time to let go, look inward. And if it costs your peace, if it silences your joy, if it dims your light, then maybe the most loving thing you can do is finally say goodbye. If you're still holding on to something that's been weighing you down, this is your reminder. You don't have to carry it anymore. You don't have to keep pretending it doesn't hurt. You don't have to prove your strength by enduring things that are quietly breaking you. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you gave up. It means you chose to care about yourself, too. It means you finally realized that peace is worth more than pride, and healing is worth more than history. There's nothing noble in staying stuck. There's no reward for suffering silently. But there is freedom waiting for you, not in fixing everything, but in releasing what was never meant to stay. So breathe, unclench your fists, soften your heart. And when you're ready, let go, gently, gracefully, and without apology, because you deserve to move forward, lighter, freer, and finally at peace.